We're now on to video 10 on the Helm mini course for YouTube. What we're going to be doing for the rest of the course is we're going to write our own Helm charts. Now you might think that for your projects this is not something you would want to do. As you know, the original purpose for Helm was to distribute a particular software package to a wide audience, but you might be working on a project which is closed source, which you are just delivering to a customer perhaps, or you're working for an in-house project. Why would you want to write your own charts? Well, we're going to find there's a massive missing feature in Kubernetes, and it turns out that we can exploit Helm to get around that problem. If you've landed on this video and you're just interested in writing your own Helm charts, feel free to follow the course from this point onwards, but there is a playlist below that you can use to find your way around the course, and the usual quick plug if you're interested in full training courses on Kubernetes or Istio, then you can find them at Udemy or Virtual Pair Programmers, and there is a link in the description below. Let's find out then, why would you want to make your own charts? You see, at first, the idea of Helm was that, as I've explained in the previous videos, it's a package manager where well-known packages like MySQL, the monitoring stack, and all of those big tools can be easily distributed. And the original idea was that you would use a Helm chart if you're wanting to package your software and distribute it to a very wide audience. In this video, though, I'm showing you how you can write your own Helm charts for your own project. And you might be thinking, well, hang on, I don't work for MySQL. On my projects, we don't deploy our software widely. We just deploy our software to our own server, and we're in complete control of that. We don't need to package our software up. Actually, there is a key feature of Helm that everybody can exploit. And to explain that, we're going to use a cut-down version of the Fleetman application that we've been working with through this course. I've just cut this down a little bit to make it easier to run. It's a very early version of Fleetman that doesn't have any vehicles moving around. It just shows the map, but this is going to be plenty to demonstrate the fundamentals of Helm charts. To find that file, you'll either find it attached to the training course where you downloaded this, or the files are publicly available at my GitHub repository at dickchestwood/K8usFleetman. And on there, you'll find a folder called Course Files. There's a folder down at the bottom for Going Further with Kubernetes, and then you'll find a folder for Helm, and the file that we're working with is Fleetman Helm Demo Start.yaml. If you want to follow along in this video, then you can grab yourself a copy of that file. And here it is, and the important thing I want to point out is this is just a standard Kubernetes file, exactly the kinds of Kubernetes we were developing earlier in the course. We have a simple deployment with a single replica. We're deploying this image here. This image is different to the images we worked with in the early part of this training course. It's one that I've specially crafted for this Helm demo. And there's a service for it, and it's going to be exposed on a node port at port 30,080. If you're following along, get this applied and check that it works. I'm going to do this on Minikube as usual. Of course, you can use any Kubernetes cluster that you like. I started it off camera and I've currently got nothing running. And I'm going to do a kubectl apply on that file, Fleetman Helm Demo Start.yaml. That creates a single deployment and a service, and we'll give that time to download and start. Now, I think I already had this image downloaded, so it might take longer for you, but once you're up in the status of running, then you should be able to visit whatever IP address you usually use to visit your cluster, and then on port 30,080. And so as you can see here, this is just some kind of a cut down version of the fleet management system. Don't expect to see any vehicles appearing here. We just have the front end without the back end microservices running. So I want to talk then about what I think is a major missing feature of Kubernetes. And that is that the files that we work with, these YAML files, are static. They're just data files, and we can't do anything dynamic with these files. Most projects find pretty quickly that they want to get dynamic with these YAML files. There's lots of different examples of why you would need this dynamic behavior in your YAML files, but as an example, and I think this is the most frequent requirement for projects, I'm illustrating here down on line 18 and 19 of that YAML. On this particular project, we have two versions of that image that we've just deployed. We have one version which is for development and one version which is for live production. And of course, I'm sure I don't need to tell you this, many projects have that requirement. Maybe the development version works with a different database, a safe database with some testing data in maybe. Maybe your development version doesn't process payments or whatever. Of course, there's a million reasons why you might need a development and a production version. The huge problem here is, I hope you can see this now, using standard Kubernetes, there's no way for us to easily support both versions of this system. I've done it in a really ugly way here that I've put a comment in. Note to the deployer, add -dev to the end. I think they mean on the end of the tag here to get the development version. So yeah, we have to manually, let's try this. We have to manually go in and add -dev on the end. Let's save that and then go back to the console and we'll reapply the YAML. Just check that the deployment has been reconfigured. That might take a while to restart now, but we hope it's going to be restarting. There it is with a new image. And if we go back to the user interface, we should be able to do a standard refresh here. And you can see that we have the different version now up and running. This is the dev version for internal use. Now, I have tried with this version to make it so that you can just do a simple refresh. Early versions of this system would cache all of the files and it was a nightmare. But if you are not seeing that switching around, you might need to do a hard refresh or clean your cache. But actually, that should just work. So yeah, we've got two versions, but of course this is no good manually changing this tag. We want to be able to support both the live and development versions. As I say, there's no feature, no obvious feature in Kubernetes that supports this, not unless you do some really horrible, complicated tricks. So in the absence of any other tooling, really you're stuck with the idea of having maybe two versions of this YAML file. You could use this version as the development version and then save a copy, take the dev off and make that copy be the live version. I hope you're disgusted by that. That's, of course, horrible duplication. And pretty much immediately you can imagine that those two files are now going to start drifting as some developer comes in and patches up one of the files, but forgets to do the other version. And then we end up with a right mess. That's really not what we want. So you could bring in some kind of third-party tooling. And of course, there are a lot of utilities out there that will do text substitutions and that kind of thing. And I have seen many projects doing that. But I hope you can see where this is going now. All of the features that are present in Helm and in the previous videos, you've worked with that values.yaml file. Clearly, the values.yaml file is doing some kind of substitution somehow. We haven't really looked at the source code of the Helm charts, but we have kind of got the idea that some kind of template is being sent through Helm and the values are being pulled out and dropped into that template. Wouldn't it be good if we could use that? And of course, we can. So that's where we're going on this video. And you're going to find that a lot of projects do exactly this. Even though we're not going to be publishing this project to thousands of people, we don't need to make this a package. But if we turn this into a Helm chart, we're going to be able to exploit the dynamic features of Helm. Now, it might feel a little bit scary, and As I said at the start of this video, yes, you can get very complicated with your Helm charts, but there isn't really need for anything complicated. And I'm going to show you how we could easily turn this into a dynamic Helm chart where we can switch from production to development without needing any duplication. Sounds fun? Well, we'll see. Let's start in the next video.